What's up, Gooners? Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we've got 3 stories today that could shape Arsenal's January plans and future. Let's dive straight in. Gooners, there's an 18-year-old midfielder lighting up League One right now, and both Arsenal and Chelsea are circling. His name is Daryl Bakola, and according to Foot Mercato, he could be available as soon as January. Bakola's rise has been absolutely rapid. Olympique Marseille thrust him into a high-pressure Champions League fixture against Newcastle, and the teenager responded with maturity beyond his years. Foot Mercato described it as a high-flying performance with a decisive assist for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. That one display shifted the conversation from promise to urgency. Chelsea, Arsenal and Newcastle are all now firmly alert. Stuttgart and Borussia Dortmund have also registered strong interest, but it's Chelsea's manoeuvring that stands out, particularly given their long-term midfield planning under Enzo Maresca. According to English sources cited by Foot Mercato, Chelsea are moving their pawns behind the scenes and would already be thinking of sending Bakola to Strasbourg on loan. This fits Chelsea's familiar model: secure elite young talent early, then allow development within a controlled environment. From a sporting perspective, Bakola profiles as a technically secure, press-resistant midfielder. Those are attributes that align with Maresca's positional play principles. Chelsea's midfield evolution is ongoing, and while competition would be fierce, Bakola's age and ceiling make him an attractive long-term investment. Now here's where it gets interesting for Marseille. The club is currently trying to secure Bakola's future with a contract extension. Foot Mercato reports that this is the priority issue for the end of 2025 in Marseille's offices. The midfielder is under contract until June 2027, but OM want clarity quickly. Marseille believe they've delivered on their promises. By integrating Bakola more frequently in the rotation, 8 appearances in all competitions, including the Champions League baptism of fire, the club feels it's fulfilled its part of the contract. But there's also firmness behind the scenes. Pablo Longoria and Mehdi Benatia are determined not to repeat past mistakes where young talents departed without compensation. Foot Mercato state plainly that if Daryl Bakola does not sign an extension quickly, a transfer this winter cannot be ruled out, so Arsenal need to move fast if they want Bakola. Chelsea are already positioning themselves, and with their track record of signing young French talent, they're a serious threat. Arsenal and Newcastle remain watchful, though neither appear as advanced in their planning as Chelsea. But if Marseille decide they need to sell in January to avoid losing him for less later, Arsenal could absolutely swoop in. This is the kind of signing Andrea Berta loves. Young, talented, technically excellent and potentially available at a reasonable price if Marseille are forced to sell. Arsenal should be all over this one. Now let's talk about Gabriel Jesus, because Arsenal have reportedly offered him to Real Madrid, but the response wasn't what you'd expect. Jesus recently addressed transfer speculation in the Players' Tribune, making his position crystal clear. He said, "I feel that I have unfinished business at Arsenal. I don't want to leave. People have asked, why don't you just leave? Why don't you go to Saudi or back home to Brazil? One day I would love for everything to come full circle with Palmeiras, but not today." On his reason for joining Arsenal, Jesus added, "When I came here to join Mikel, my purpose was not only to score goals. My purpose was to win titles. When I came to the Premier League, I think most people's reaction was, 'Oh, who is this kid?' They looked at me as a pure goal scorer, but that's not how I see myself. So Jesus wants to stay." But according to Spanish website Defensa Central, Arsenal have offered Jesus on loan to Real Madrid anyway, with the Gunners apparently keen to offload him. The report explains the logic. Arsenal are aware that Endrick will leave on loan to Lyon during the winter transfer window. They interpreted this as a possible sign of urgency from Real Madrid to strengthen their attack, so they offered Jesus to fill that position. Fabrizio Romano recently confirmed that Endrick's move to Lyon is here we go done. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Romano revealed, Endrick will be a Lyon player from the 1st of January. Straight loan, no option, no obligation, back to Real Madrid in June. Lyon will pay 50% of the salary. So with Endrick leaving, Arsenal thought they saw an opportunity. But here's the twist. Real Madrid are not considering bringing in anyone to fill the role that Endrick will vacate. They don't want a number 9 and therefore won't sign Gabriel Jesus despite the offer they've received. The report even adds that a few years ago Madrid tried to sign Jesus when he was at Manchester City, precisely before he signed with Arsenal. So they know his quality, but they're still saying no. This tells us a few things. First, Arsenal are at least exploring options to move Jesus on if the right opportunity presents itself. Second, Jesus might want to stay, but the club seems open to letting him go. And third, even when Arsenal offer him to one of the biggest clubs in the world, they're not interested due to fit or need. Jesus started as Arsenal beat Crystal Palace on penalties in the League Cup, and he'll be hoping to get into the starting 11 for a Premier League match soon. But with Victor Gyökeres and Kai Havertz ahead of him in the pecking order, and Arsenal apparently trying to move him on, his long-term future at the Emirates looks uncertain. Personally, I think Arsenal should keep Jesus for the rest of the season. Squad depth has been tested to the limit with injuries, and losing another striker option in January could be disastrous. But it's clear the club is at least considering all options. Alright Gooners, this final story is a tough one, especially if you're an Eberechi Eze fan. Arsenal are considering a move for Kanan Yildis, and it could spell bad news for Eze's future at the club. According to Team Talk, Arsenal are monitoring Juventus's Turkish sensation Yildiz. A few weeks ago it was revealed that Arsenal had already held talks to sign the 20-year-old. Now this new report details how the Gunners are facing competition from Tottenham and Chelsea for his signature. Previous reports have suggested Yildiz could cost upwards of £88 million if he moves from Turin next year. That's a massive investment, but Arsenal clearly rate him highly. When Eze signed for Arsenal in the summer, he arrived to much fanfare. He's a boyhood Gooner who was famously released by Arsenal's youth system as a boy, a moment that left him in tears. Eze did the hard yards, went around the houses via Crystal Palace, and now he's back in red and white. But his time at the Emirates has been somewhat topsy-turvy. He scored that hat-trick in the North London derby back in November, but he hasn't found the net in 6 straight games since then. Eze also hasn't played a full 90 minutes since that 4-1 derby win. Against Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup, Eze failed to really cut the mustard against his former employers. He was substituted off on 67 minutes, failing to grasp his opportunity. For Mikel Arteta, it seems to be a case of either Martin Odegaard or Eze at the moment, rather than both of them. And with Odegaard also underperforming this term, he's yet to score. An upgrade or replacement could be sought. That's where Yildiz comes in. While he's been described as one of the best wingers in the world in the past, it's as an attacking midfielder behind the striker where he's thrived for Juventus this term. Yildiz has said himself that he's trying to live up to the billing of being one of the best talents in Europe. He's scored 6 goals and registered 6 assists in 22 games throughout this season. They're not mind-blowing numbers, but he's been mightily impressive operating as a second striker. 9 of his 12 goal involvements have come from that position, so he's evidently better as an attacking midfielder rather than as a winger. That's bad news for Odegaard and Eze. When you compare the stats, Yildiz looks like a much larger threat in the final third than Eze. He's registered more key passes, shot-creating actions, and progressive carries. The young forward has also managed to score his goals from fewer shots, showing better efficiency. There's still plenty of time for Eze to really make a name for himself in Arsenal colours. But if Yildiz signs for £88 million, it could be a damaging blow to Eze's hopes of making it at his boyhood club. Think about it. Arsenal would be spending nearly £90 million on a player who plays in Eze's position. That's a clear statement of intent. Eze would go from being a big summer signing to a squad player fighting for minutes, behind Yildiz and Odegaard. It's harsh, but that's the reality of playing for a top club. You're only as good as your last performance, and if someone better becomes available, the club will upgrade. Eze needs to start performing consistently, or his Arsenal dream could turn into a nightmare. What do you think, Gooners? Should Arsenal go for Bakola over Chelsea? Is it time to move Jesus on? And would you spend £88 million on Yildiz knowing it could end Eze's Arsenal career? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an Arsenal update. Until next time, Gooners, come on you Gunners!